Hey y'all. I know it's late. And I was supposed to be and come on to release 2 Samuel chapter 10 and 11. Hey y'all, I see some of y'all on. I'm sorry it's so late. I'm a late nighter, early morning person. I try to get the house situated. Me and my husband had to leave out, so the kids are where they need to be. And I'm able to feel a peace of mind and release. I had so many distractions today, y'all. It don't make no sense. But I'm here. I won't complain. Thank you, God, for just giving me this extra push to release, God. I thank you, God, for just showing me the way, giving me clarity. I pray that anybody that is listening in, that you give them a peace of mind tonight, as well as clarity, God, that this is soon about to be a new day, and you just give us fresh anointing, prosperity flowing our way. In Jesus' name I pray. Amen. So I wanted to break down 2 Samuel chapter 10 and 11. I'm gonna try not to be too long, but I wanted to give y'all the scripture as well as the notes from a Bible standpoint, as well as a street standpoint. So the topic for tonight is showing loyalty, right? I done reset. It's time to go. Let's go. Showing loyalty. In chapter 10, 2 Samuel kicks off with David wanting to show loyalty to King Nahash, son, after he died, right? He wanted to show loyalty just like his father did, just like the father did to David. Nahash was loyal. He said he had always been loyal to me. That's what it says. David said, I am going to show loyalty to Hanan, just as his father Nahash was always loyal to me. So David sent ambassadors to express sympathy. I underlined to express sympathy to Hanan about his father's death. When when Joab saw that he would have to fight on both front and the rear, he chose some of Israel's elite troops and placed them under the personal command. That stood out to me too. I jumped ahead. I'm not reading every piece, but whenever David wanted to show sympathy and impress, I guess he wanted to say, I wanted to do the same thing his father did. Hanan, their master, asked, do you really think this man is coming here to honor your father? And the response back was like, no. David really meant well. He really did. In this chapter, he really meant well. But the men felt like David had already sent spies to spy on them at one time. So he was like, no matter if your father just died or not, what makes you think he not coming to spy or do something evil again? So they couldn't see through the first time when he sent the spies. But David really came in honor and trying to show respect. But they's like, no, you can have that. So as the men went to relay the message to Hanan, they seized David's ambassadors and shaved off half of each man's beard, cut out their robes and at the buttocks, and sent them back to David in shame. In verse 5. When David heard what had happened, he sent messages to tell the men, stay at Jericho until your beards grow out, and then come back. for they felt deep shame because of their appearance. So at this point, David meant well, but they ain't take him serious. So now it's time for war because they put their hands on David men. So that's when they got ready to load up for battle. It says in verse 8, tell the Ammonite troops they came out. They drew up their battle lines and at the entrance of the city gate. So they end up grabbing their men, and David and his men, they was ready to rock and roll. So when Joab saw that again, that he would have to fight on both the front and the rear, he chose some of the Israelite troops and placed them under his personal command to fight the Arameans in the field. So he left the rest of the army under the command of his brother Abishai, who was to attack the Ammonites. In this point, Joab was very strategic. He thought about every move. So at this point, who is Joab? I mentioned him at the beginning of the chapters in 2 Samuel, but as 2 Samuel 10, 9 through 12 pretty much focuses on mainly Joab and the commanders with him as they prepare for battle against two enemy armies. Joab was also mentioned again in the earlier chapters where he was a hitter. In so many words, he was a hitter. He was a hitter and made moves when David didn't have to do nothing. Joab was the commander of the army for David and also his nephew, son of David's sister. Joab often handled the violent or political situation, so David again, he didn't have to touch nothing. Sometimes people be so loyal to where you ain't gotta make no move, you ain't gotta say nothing. Like you gotta hear that, they paying attention, they observant every situation to where you ain't gotta get your hands dirty. That's how Joab was with David. And because of that, he sometimes acted like, again, the hitter or the muscle of the kingdom. Sometimes in your family you got a muscle man. You ain't got to say nothing, do nothing to move. They make all the moves. They line it up, knock them down one by one. Cover it up. You don't see nothing else after that. So, or then you don't hear nothing else after that. It's a done deal. So that's pretty much how chapter 10 plays out to me. Joab is, again, he's the strategic warrior. And now I wanted to break down who is who, because later it mentioned that he had his brother making moves and he was like, we're going to be courageous. Let us fight bravery for our people and the cities of our God. May the Lord's will be done. May the Lord's will be done. So when Joab and his troops attacked the Arameans, began to run away. They began to run away. And when the Ammonites saw the Arameans running, they ran from Abishai and retreated in the city. So they had them running and scattering every which way, but the right way. They was gone. They was scared. They had many, and I don't want to jump. I know I wrote that down, but they pretty much, they ran. Joab returned to Jerusalem. The Arameans now realized that they were no match for Israel. I'm in verse 15, chapter 10 in 2 Samuel. So when they regrouped, they rejoined by additional Aramean troops summoned by Hadazer for the other side of the Euphrates River. So as they go farther down, when David heard what was happening, he mobilized all Israel across the Jordan River and led the army. The Arameans positioned themselves in battle formation and fought against David. But again, the Arameans fled from the Israelites. And this time, David was forced to kill 700 Cherethites and 4,000. Pretty much, David did what he needed to do. I did highlight they had been defeated by Israel by surrendering to Israel and became their subject. After the Arameans were afraid to help the Ammonites. So by that time, it seems like some that was on the other side, they seen that they couldn't win, and they start to switch up. So in my notes, I wanted to break down who was who. Joab, again, was the strategic warrior. Abishai was Joab's brother and one of David's mighty warriors, right? Joab places Abishai, sorry about these names, y'all. I tried to break them down to understand how to pronounce them, in charge of part of the army to fight the Ammonites. Syrians was also hired army fighting Israel, and the Ammonites was the nation that started the conflict. So in earlier chapters, Abner's death, Abner was killed by Joab's brother Asahel in battle. Later, when Abner tried to make peace with David, Joab secretly killed him for revenge in 2 Samuel 3. Abner realizes that David is the one God chose to rule Israel. Abner had power and influence over Saul's former army in the northern tribes. He decides to switch sides and help bring all Israel under David's leadership. So that's what stuck out to me. Abner realized that David was one of God's chosen over and to rule Israel. And although he had the power and the influence left from Saul, he realized, okay, this is one of God's chosen ones. I now need to get on David's good side and try to bring all Israel together under one, as David is the king. David is the leader now. But when he says, doesn't the whole land belong to you? He basically acknowledged that David is the rightful king over the entire nation, not just Judah. David publicly distanced himself from it, though. So Joab was the war leader, and he led most of the major battles for David. Joab was David's top general. How you got a top general in your clique, your friends, family, whatever. And he was also a ruthless fighter, someone who did the hard and the dirty work of war. He was loyal to David, but sometimes act again on his own impulse. Joab carries out the battle plan that leads to Uriah being killed in chapter 11. So back in verse 9 through 12, Joab moves cautiously. He had it all planned out with his brother that they was going to move, and they was going to move well to where they needed to stick and move, get in and get out, and do what they needed to do. They knew what they needed to do. They fought many battles, and they always won. The Arameans, also the Syrians, they were hired. So as I see chapter 10, I look at it now on the perspective. Imagine you were trying to do a good thing and bless somebody. And as you're trying to bless them, they assume that you out to get them. Maybe you might have did something, I wouldn't say really crossing, but then you go back and try to hold yourself accountable, try to make amends, and then they like, no, you can have that. You know, I just spoke on when you give other people grace, but then when you go back up to them, they probably slap you in your face and say, you know what? You said what you said and you meant what you said. Stand on it. So that's pretty much what they did to David. You said what you said, you did what you did, and you got to stand on it. But as David did, they still won. And it's also sometimes how people can change up on you and fight a battle against you and go against you with your op. Because that's pretty much what ended up happening. They was fighting two different nations. They was fighting two different battles, but they won. But one realized, like, you know what? I need to get on their good side. I see what it is. I need to get on their good side. But you forgot that you had your army of people trying to get that one. But they come out on top. Now you want to get on their good side. Like, physically on the human side, we might come out on top when an enemy, or we have people that was close to us and they underestimate you, and then they don't realize, like, she was quiet but she got them hands. I ain't see her make no move because she wasn't loud with it, but here it is, I'm popping at the mouth, and when she come quiet and just coming up, creeping and doing what she need to do, you want to get on the good side. Or maybe you didn't mean it the way you meant. No, you meant it. You ain't know that them hands was what it was hitting for. So that's what they pretty much showed them. And they said too, the Lord will do what is good in his sight. If it's in God's will, it'll be done. So chapter 10 cuts deep and heavy. The entire army just drew up and they was ready for battle formation. And in 2 Samuel 10:13 through 15, they had numbers. They had a lot of men out to get David's side. But they lost their confidence when the battle started. That's just like when you look at the side of humans today. When sometimes I used to say, I can't really know. I don't know if the Bible gonna really help me in life. But it does. Because many times you will see a lot of people draw up ready to go against you. And it could be many and little. Just, I said yesterday, guys, say, fix that little. Stop saying little you. Big you, it's only one you, but there's also a big God that's living through you. So just because it's one of you and many of them, baby, they'll lose their confidence the minute you move. And that's the same thing that I looked at it the way I'm trying to get y'all to understand chapter 10, and we about to be soon moving on to chapter 11 in 2 Samuel. But I do have a few more notes. At the end of 2 Samuel 10, David leads Israel and defeats the Arameans again. And again, after that, they lost. The Aramean kings made peace with Israel and stopped helping the Ammonites. So simply, David won the battle, and the enemy's nation stopped supporting each other and turned towards peace instead. So, chapter 11, right? Chapter 11. All I can say is David. David had just been anointed king. If y'all been listening in, y'all know that David been moving, but before David moved, he go to God. He asked God, what you want me to do? Lord, what you want me to do? Lord, you gonna be in this battle with me? You gonna help me win? David had been going to the Lord every move he made. But what happened in chapter 11? What was different? Why did he move the way he moved? The wrong look and the wrong move will have you moving out of the will of God. That's what I got for chapter 11. The wrong look and the wrong move will have you moving out the will of God. David reflects moral failure with Bathsheba and Uriah. Uriah, if I'm saying it right, was too loyal. So let me just give y'all some scripture. David and Bathsheba. In the spring of the year, when kings normally go out to war, I see Hebrews 11:1. We're going to switch that into a positive. God, I got faith you about to do something big. God, I see it before I can even see it, because I got faith to believe you about to make a move. And I ain't going to be like David and go against you, God. I'm going to be obedient. I'm going to move on your will and not mine. I hear you, God. I hear you. I see you. I understand. In my time now, it's 12:12. But anyways, David sent Joab and the Israelite army to fight the Ammonites. So when I read the Bible, I pay attention to the smallest details. That's why it takes me so long. I don't just read to read. I read to comprehend, and then I got to break it down and dissect it, as well as digest it. So in this part, because I didn't even write too much for chapter 11. It was just a page and this, and then I'm going to give it to you the street way soon. Why he sent Joab and the Israelites army to fight when he normally would go too? It says, in the spring of the year, when kings normally go out to war, David sent Joab and the Israelite army to fight the Ammonites. They destroyed the Ammonite army and laid siege to the city of Rabbah. However, David stayed behind in Jerusalem. That rung a bell, because like, why are you staying at home? Why you ain't doing what the kings normally do? They go out to battle. You been going out, you been winning, like, so what's going on? So late one afternoon, after his midday rest, David got out of bed and was walking on the roof of the palace. As he looked out over the city, he noticed a woman of unusual beauty taking a bath. He sent someone to find out who she was, and he was told, "Where y'all going?" Sorry, y'all, I got company. Baby, I thought y'all was sleeping in the family room. What y'all doing? Okay, I'm on live. Sit down, lay down, be quiet. Sorry. You interrupted me. David got out of the bed and he asked, he noticed a woman of unusual beauty taking a bath. He sent someone to find out who she was and was told she is Bathsheba, the daughter of Eliam and the wife of Uriah the Hittite. If I'm saying it right, sorry if I'm saying it wrong. Then David sent messengers to get her. Like, if they telling you that this man's wife, why are you sending the messages to go get her? Why? That's why I said, David, you've been good. You've been doing good all this time. I've been rocking and rolling with you all this time, man. Why you slip up? Why you go back? Why you messing with this man? Why are you trying to mess with this man's wife? So, and when get her, and when she came to the palace, he slept with her. He slept with her. He ain't asked no questions after that. Like, he just slept with the lady. And she let him. She know what her man was doing. She just giving it out. And it ain't funny. It's not. I'm smiling, but the Bible cutthroat. It is. She had just completed the purification rites after having her menstrual period. Then she returned home later when Bathsheba discovered that she was pregnant. What's done in dark shall always come to light. She sent David a message saying, "I'm pregnant." Then David sent word to Joab saying, "Send me Uriah the Hittite." So Joab sent him to David. When Uriah arrived, David asked him how Joab and the army were. So he was trying to throw him off. Like, how was the army? We're getting along. Lay down. David asked him how Joab and the army were getting along and how the war was progressing. Then he told Uriah, "Go on home and relax." So he was trying to throw that man off after he had just slept with that lady, that man's wife, and she report back to him and say that she pregnant. So he's trying to make Uri, if I'm saying it's wrong, I'm sorry. Whatever the man's name is. Uriah. I'm going to say Uriah. He tried to make Uriah go home to relax and get in bed with his wife. David even sent a gift to Uriah after he had left the palace, but Uriah didn't go home. He didn't go home. He slept that night at the palace entrance with the king's palace guard. When David heard that Uriah had not gone home, he summoned him and asked, "What's the matter? Why didn't you go home last night after being away for so long?" Uriah replied, "The ark and the armies of Israel and Judah are living in tents, and Joab and my master's men are camping in the open fields. He basically saying what I look like going home to sleep with my wife after all what's going on. Why would I go home when I'm trying to make sure y'all good? Turn it down, please. How could I go home to wine and dine and sleep with my wife? I swear that I would never do such thing. Well, stay here today, David told him, and tomorrow you may return to the army. So Uriah stayed in Jerusalem that day and the next. Then David invited him to dinner and got him drunk. But even then, he didn't get Uriah to go home to his wife. Again, he slept at the palace entrance with the king's palace guard. So at this point, David's still trying to plot to make the man go home because he already knows what he's hitting for. He already know that he got this man's wife pregnant and he trying to, make it seem like it is what it is, but it's not what it's not. The math is not adding up. So as it get farther down, where is that? 11:27. I'm gonna read some more. So the next day, morning, David wrote a letter to Joab and gave it to Uriah to deliver. The letter instructed Joab, station Uriah on the front lines where the battle is furious, then pull back so that he will be bump, bump, bump. So Joab assigned Uriah to a spot close to the city wall where he knew the enemy's strongest men were fighting. So they hadn't already planned something. Okay, David said pretty much, you ain't go home to your wife, and I know I got her pregnant. So at this point, I don't want to live in shame. So he set the man up to bump, 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 which was one of his. This man was loyal, didn't want to go home. He wanted to help. So when the enemy soldiers came out to the city to fight, Uriah was God, along with several other Israelite soldiers. Then Joab sent a battle report to David. He told his messenger, report all the news to the battle to the king. But he might get angry and ask, why did the troops go so close to the city? Didn't they know there would be shooting from the walls? Wasn't Abimelech, son of Gideon, blank, blank, blank. I don't know how much I can say on here, y'all, so I'm trying to weed out some words. So the messenger pretty much went back and told David what happened and let him know that Bathsheba husband hadn't got. So at this point, well, tell Joab not to be discouraged, because he say, but also not only did he get got, a few of the others did too. But David is trying to encourage Joab, like, I'm not mad, don't be discouraged, because we just said Joab, he a hitter. He think about every move he made. But this wasn't his move. This was something David told him to do. It was kind of a sticky situation. It wasn't all the way planned out. And the sword devours this one today and that one tomorrow. Fight harder next time and conquer the city. When Uriah's wife heard that her husband had been got, she mourned for him. When the period of mourning was over, David sent for her and brought her to the palace, and she became one of his wives. Then she gave birth to the son. But this is the last part of this chapter. But the Lord was displeased with what David had done. The Lord had been pleased all up until now, because David, he made a move that he shouldn't have made. And that sentence itself is short, but it's huge. That the Lord was displeased. So I'm now about to give it to y'all a different way soon. So David pretty much thinks he's covered up everything. Uriah the Hittite is dead, and David moves Bathsheba in. But in my head, I'm wondering, like, you got all these other wives. What makes her different? Because of her beauty? And now you done move differently out of the will of God because of beauty? and you done got this lady pregnant. Just because it look good, that don't mean it's good. But I'm gonna get into my other notes, because it's more. And I wanted to say God saw everything. Just because he felt like he hadn't washed his hands publicly to make it look clean, baby, it's still not clean. So let's get into these other notes right here. So let's look at it from the street, real life perspective at this point. 1, power makes people think rules don't apply to them. So David had power, so he felt like, okay, I'm king at this point. Nobody around him is really checking him anymore. When people get to that level of power, sometimes they start moving like, I can do what I want. I ain't got to go check for nothing. I'm about to make whatever moves I want to make, and that's just what it's going to be. But the last little part I just read, the Lord was displeased with what David had did. He had let that power get to his head. And let's not forget, you got other women at home. So why you touching this man's wife, got her pregnant, and then you done set this man up? Let's get into it. You done set this man up. He was idle. Right at the beginning of the chapter, it says kings normally go to war, but David stayed at home. That's a small detail, but it's big. You know, real life, if you look at it, like, you know, okay, you got a maid at home. You know, they always go with you to church or gatherings, family member house, but they want to stay behind because they already had something planned in their head that they was going to try to move funny the minute you move. But my mama used to always say, what's done in dark shall come to light. Do you hear what I'm saying? Don't get big head, because it's going to be revealed, and you ain't going to have to check no phone. You ain't going to have to touch nothing. You ain't going to have to say nothing. Just pay attention. So when people who are usually disciplined, they get comfortable aboard, that's when bad decisions sneak in. No battle, no pressure. Just walking around the palace, then he sees Bathsheba. Just walking around giving it out at this point. But desire hits before wisdom at this point too. Even strong people have moments when desires move faster than their conscience. David did ask who she was. When they told him she was Uriah's wife, that should have been that stop sign. That should have been the stop sign, not the green light, baby. Not the green light. Not no pause. You should have, okay, that's pretty much your boy, your homeboy. That's my brother at this point, because this man been sticking it through and not even wanting to go home to touch his wife for y'all. And you mean to tell me you trying to plot and stick and move and do something you ain't got no business? And it didn't caught up with you, because at this point in the next chapter, oh, God is going to set you up, not to win, but to fail, and it's going to hurt you. It's going to hurt you. And just looking at, if I want to do human, sometimes God don't touch, or he don't allow us to touch things that didn't hurt us or make us feel like we got to fight a battle that we didn't even ask for. Let God work on it. Let God touch that. You ain't even got to speak and say, oh, I hope this, I wish that. Don't speak bad. Don't move bad. Don't turn your heart cold. Just let God be God. What's done in dark shall come to light. And at the end of the day, anybody that move wrong, just watch what God do. You ain't got to just watch. You ain't got to say nothing to do nothing. They going to be coming back running to you asking for forgiveness. But also, let me get back into it. I said David did ask, but he should have stopped, but he didn't. Instead, he kept on leaning into the temptation. So the street translation is, he knew it was wrong, but wanted it anyway. He knew that it was wrong, and he wanted it anyway. Yep, just keep waiting. Calmly, patiently, God gonna cover you, protect you, and just confuse your enemy at this point. Right now, it might be an enemy, but a lover. But at the same time, you gotta confuse him. You gotta keep showing up for you, 10 toes down, chin up, chest out, chin up, and chest out. God is protecting you when you want to be. You know what? Let my hands loose. But sometimes you just gotta do this. Sit on your hands. Sit on your lips. Fold them up. Zipping them up. The minute you want to talk back, say something smarter. Get your lip back. You know what? I'm going to put my hands under me so I don't move or do nothing that I ain't got no business doing. Because this is just what David did. But one bad move turns into a chain of bad moves. So just like I don't believe in little lies, because I feel like if you lie once, you will lie again. A little lie gonna turn into a big lie. Don't do all that with me. Keep it real. You ain't gotta lie to kick it. Just be real. And if you gotta lie to kick it, I don't want you in my face. But at the same time, the crazy part isn't just the affair. It's what follows, how he tried to cover it up. What you mean you trying to cover it up, David? He tries to trick Uriah. Then it ends up arranging the man's death. That shows how sin stacks when someone tries to hide the first mistake. Why someone faithful can still fall. The Bible actually shows something real about human nature. Even people who walk with God can slip when pride, comfort, or temptations collide. I'm going to say that part again. Even people who walk with God can slip when pride, comfort, and temptations collide. David didn't fall because he didn't love God. He fell because he stopped guarding himself for a moment. The real takeaway in this is the story isn't written to make David look perfect. What I said, K Event Planner and MUA, what I said, what that picture frame say. I'm gonna pick my phone up. What I said that say. Choose grace because no one is perfect, even when you don't want to, even when you don't want to, even when it look ugly, even when you want to do something that's ugly and not cute. But again, the Bible's not making it look like David is perfect. In my eyes, I wouldn't say David was perfect, but he was being obedient at one point. But the moment he didn't get up to go into battle with the rest of them, I knew something wasn't right. But I just didn't know that this was the next part. I done heard this story before. Again, I'm learning the Bible just like y'all. I'm new to certain things, but I've been hearing from God. I've been following my calling. But this walk is different because I'm getting more familiar with the Bible. I was like, oh, I didn't know I was coming up on this story. I didn't know that this was in this particular chapter, but I done heard this before. I just didn't know which. And this is where David was doing what he ain't had no business doing. So even the strongest leaders can crash if they stop checking their desires and their pride. So the verse most people overlook is the chapter starts by saying, again, in the spring at the time when kings go off to war, David remained. So the text is quietly telling us something important. Kings normally lead their armies in battle, but David stayed home while Joab and the army fought. That's the first warning sign that I caught in the story. Like, what you mean you ain't going? What you mean you staying? What's up your alley? What you got going on? But because David stayed back, he's idle to the palace. He walks on the roof at night. He sees Bathsheba bathing. He asks about her. He still sends for her even after learning that she is Uriah's wife. So the deeper lesson many point out, or maybe I'm about to point out to you, is David fell when he stepped out of his assignment. A few nights ago, complete the assignment. Let me see what that was. Let me quote what I said. Give me 1 second. What was that topic? When you step out of your assignment. Give me 1 second. All my notes. Carry out the assignment. Carry out the assignment. I wrote it down. A few nights ago, I spoke on carry out the assignment. But in this particular moment, David, he stepped out of his assignment. So the street perspective, you ready? Think of it like this. When you're focused on your purpose, a lot of distractions never even reach you. When you are focused on your purpose, a lot of distractions never even reaches you. But when you're out of position, temptations finds room. David wasn't on the battlefield where he normally was. He wasn't. He was comfortable, relaxed, and unguarded. That's when that moment happened. The leadership lesson hidden in this chapter is the Bible shows two battles. Chapter 10, David's army wins war against nations. But in chapter 11, David lost a war against his own desires at this point. He won the first battle in 10, but in 11, oh, it hit different. Oh, and when I get into chapter 12, oh, it hits even more different. So the message is you can win public battles and still lose private ones if you stop guarding your heart. So I wanted to now break down the personal perspectives. Again, I wanted to admire and acknowledge the fact that he was real loyal. He was so loyal to the point that he wanted to protect his men, the bros, and not even know he needed to protect his own wife. Not even knowing he needed to protect his own wife at this point. So when David tried to send him home, he kept saying like something powerful, like, no, at this point, you my brothers. Y'all, my brothers are out here. They're risking their lives. I'm not about to go home and relax. That shows he's honored, and he's also disciplined. The tragic irony is the heavy part was when he pretty much was set up by the king. He was loyal to the mission, as well as the code of soldiers. You know how you got a code for brothers in the street? No, he was loyal to the code of the soldiers, as well as the king and the mission. But the very king he's loyal to is betraying him. So Uriah thinks he's protecting the king, while behind the scenes, David was protecting his own mistakes, baby. He was trying to cover up his own mistakes by doing what he did with that man's wife. That don't make no sense. And I just read that he was protecting everybody else but his wife. So in that time, the king summoned someone. People didn't really have the power to resist. The deeper message is David's actions is seen as such a serious misuse of power. I don't know if he got big-headed or he just felt like, dang, she pretty. I wanna touch that. I wanna see that. I wanna see what it's hitting for. But he crossed the line. He had all them other women at home. And it's allowed in the Bible. It's not the human side, how we supposed to just have one. They wasn't good enough. A desire, and you done messed up with God. So David had power, desire, but he tried to cover it up. Uriah had loyalty, honor, and sacrifice. The man with less power acts more righteous than the man with more power acts selfishly. That's why the story hits so hard. One more powerful detail is there's always something many may miss. Meaning when he was called a Hittite, Uriah, he was originally from another group, yet he showed more integrity towards Israel and David than David showed towards him. Simply, the way to sum that up is chapter 11, David sins and tries to cover it up, and the ending is God makes it clear he saw it. He saw it. And I'm gonna now speak on when sometimes in life we might be doing right, and others that we love and doing well with have a good heart and not doing nothing evil. God sees all. He knows all. He knows what people say behind your back, what they doing, how they moving. If God don't really reveal it to you once, maybe he'll give it to you in a dream. Baby, God gave me something in my dream. I warned my husband, I'm like, look, listen, handle that, pay attention to that, be cautious. I'm warning them. Warning comes before destruction, but sometimes people don't take heed of it. And I told him, once I seen what I seen months later, I said, oh, this was my dream, man. God was trying to warn me, and you ain't take heed to it. You didn't understand that God really talks to me. God shows me things, and you did not listen. You didn't stop. But I done caught you slipping. And I'm about to be delivering our 10th baby, and I done caught you slipping. Pulled up on the scene. And what you mean, India? I mean that the other side of me had to just give grace, move differently, didn't act out in public, because baby, I probably would have been somewhere to where I left my kids at home to go on scene because my intuition told me something ain't right. Something is not right. I'm thinking something wrong, like seriously, and the whole time, like, yeah, something is wrong. Something is wrong. But I had to be strong. Even on days I just didn't understand why, God, you keep breaking me down, and I didn't ask for this. I did not ask for this, God. Is it a life lesson that you teaching me or my husband at this point? Because I'm loyal. I'm showing loyalty. I am. He know what it's hitting for. I ain't trying to cross him. But it seems like I'm always getting crossed. I'm always two steps ahead of the game, but it just seems like I don't want to move like that. Because if I move the same way, I'm getting stabbed and hurt and burnt and used, and feel like I'm just not feeling the same as it used to be. I can move the same way, but I know that ain't in my heart. If I gotta move like that, baby, it's a done deal. I'm washing my hands. I'm letting it go. I ain't no fool either, though. So it's like, God, who learning something at this point? So I think I need to share a little transparency, to which I've already spoke on this. And I know my husband, he know if he is on here, I don't mind talking about just pieces. I said this last year around the same time, because this is the time baby, I could have been handcuffed. I could have been Ike and Tina. I could have been how I used to be, flipping tables and being a storm. Yes, I could have been doing it all. Packing up stuff, throwing stuff out the house. But let me tell you about that. My younger days, I used to move like that. And even though I was hurt, that was more so an embarrassment to him. Even though publicly he was doing what he was doing. But the wiser side of that is when a man gotta come out there and pick up all them clothes in front of everybody, and you got family members telling you, do you? She don't care about you. But really, he knew I cared about him, but I was hurt from the way he was moving. But it also pushed him to doing other things that he didn't have no business doing. Even though he was moving different and moving wrong, it was like, as a woman, you hurt, you'll move, you'll do things that you don't want to do. Or sometimes you will say stuff just to get back and hurt, and just, say, I can't get my lip back, but let me say this, let me do this, let me move like this, let me change the locks on the door, let me get all this clothes out the house. But then there just starts more confusion. And then it'll just make somebody else say, you know what she can't do, I will. Or maybe she tripping and I treat you better. So I learned, I have a stepdaughter that I treated like my own before we got married now. But it had a lot to do with other people that was closest to my husband's side, and things that were done in dark that came to light, and I still stood on top. I stood on top. I held my head up. I carried out. I trained up this baby the same way I do my own. I stepped up for not just my husband, but he was my boyfriend at the time. And then later, after we got married, even after that situation, because I know in me, my mama raised, I just was on live earlier with somebody. My mama raised up kids that she didn't fully birth, but she raised up within her marriage. It was just things that was instilled within me that shows me, like, it's not you capable or you feel like you have to do certain things, but you just know your heart. You know your heart, and sometimes people don't ask for the things that happen or things that you go through, but you just know, like, dang, if this was me on the other side, I want somebody to have a heart. Even though that girl and the situation is not on my type of level, I had to potty train a baby. I had to do all these things because her mama wasn't willing to do. So what if I would have just kicked that situation out the door? That would have been my kids having a sibling that just wasn't on that level. But I had to help that situation. I had to mold my husband up, and he would say, like, yeah, my wife did that, because eventually we got married. But if he would have listened to other people, family people that he knew, he would have been loyal to the streets. Even though he messed up and did some things that he ain't had no business doing. And then I'm like, okay, the older you get, I think you learn your lesson. I think you just, you become more stronger, wiser. You become a better man. You lead your family. And I'm, not knocking my husband, but I share transparency. I think that the older you get, you know better to do better. But sometimes people don't know better to do better. Sometimes people do not know better to do better, no matter how old they is. And I'm like, come on now, we in our 30s. I'll be 34 March the 25th. My husband is about a year and something older than me. So I say all this to say, baby, I've been wise all my life. All my, our sense of child. So when that stepchild came into the picture, even though we maybe had bad days, he got caught slipping. But even then, I still was who I am today. I wasn't bitter. I was hurt. Yes, it crossed my mind many a times. I could have flashed out. I did flash out plenty of times. I'm not even gonna lie. I did. But I also stepped up. Now I can not wash my hands with it, but I let him lead that situation. I didn't fully wash my hands, but I don't get in the midst of that now, because we're older, and now he has that bond that I wanted him to have. But not just him. I wanted my whole family to have that bond with her. But when the baby gotta hide and sneak to call me, oh baby, just wait until you get a little older, because your mama's still not on my level. No matter how she might have looked thick, not pretty in the face, but I'm just saying, it was the desire of the temptation, just like David did in his book. Because if you ask my husband today or tomorrow, what was you thinking? Somebody fast in the streets, like, baby, I'm book smart, I'm street smart with it. Which one you need? Do I need to roll up my sleeves? Like, which one you need? But it's just how you move, and how you move sometimes will come back to bite you in your butt. And sometimes it's heavy. Sometimes in life, even when some people do you wrong, you got to teach them how to do you right. Sometimes when people do you wrong, you sometimes have to teach them how to do right. Sometimes people only know wrong and don't know what's right. Or they don't know the feeling of things being right because they was always done wrong. Or they don't know how to be strong. And when things get hot and heavy, they go and do things that they ain't got no business doing. They don't know how to chin up, chest out. I ain't gonna say how to be a man, but sometimes people don't even know how to be a man or a woman to be. Sometimes people didn't have nobody training them, teaching them, molding them, shaping them to being who they are today. So life or the streets or whatever you want it to be, teach them. Life lessons, teach them. Yeah. It's hard. But in due time, God will make it right with that right person. If God, again, like I said last night, if he ordained you, assigned you, if you know that's the right person for you, but they just keep doing stuff that they ain't got no business doing, like, get here, let me knock you up real quick. Sometimes you just got to take your hands off of it and let God be God. I had to surrender, give my whole little family to God. Not move the way I used to move. Not say what I used to say. Not act the way I used to act. It hurts. It cuts deep. But if you do the things that you might, that'll just turn your heart cold and make you numb and make you feel like, you gotta move harder, stronger. You gotta, and it'll catch up with you. It'll lead you into pain and trauma and things that you ain't want to even go that way. So continue to go right. Continue to do right until God makes things right on your behalf, because you allow God to come in and steer the wheel. Sometimes you just got to be the backseat rider and just let everything just play out, ride out, and you be calm. You be patient. And you get up. And you're like, okay, I'm ready. I get in the front seat, but God, I still need you to stir this. I need you to still lead me. I still need you to guide me. Because I don't know what I'm doing or what I am capable of doing. I know what I can do, but I know that that's not the right way to move. And I paused because that wasn't even my notes, but I felt the Holy Spirit saying I needed to say that. I needed to get on that level. I needed to get deep down in the middle of the lower of the lowest, because I done been there before. I don't mind sharing transparent moments. And that's my husband right here, sending love, sending love, sending love. He know how his wife is. Baby, we ready to stick and move. We done did a lot of things. We done been a lot of places. We done been through a lot of things. But if I look at where we are today and who we used to be, we done came a long way. And some days still ugly. Some days still ugly. But the more of it is, you just keep going and you keep loving and you keep growing, you keep understanding, you learn how to communicate, you learn how to open up. The minute something bad used to happen, I used to build that wall right back up. Husband used to feel like he done broke it down just a little bit, got me back a little bit how I used to be. But the minute he moved different, up, that wall back up. Up, that wall back up. But then you just gotta let God be God. And don't toughen up your heart, because I used to be so rough. But I want to be vulnerable. I want to be soft. My husband used to tell me, I want that strong one back. I want that little roughness in you. It's still in me. I use it and do what I need to do when I need to do it. But when it come down to my marriage, when it come down to me and you, I want to be able to have you as my safe space. I want to be able to trust, understand, open up, communicate, write out more visions. When we were younger, before kids, we used to say, when we get older, we want to have kids together. We want to have tattoos with our names on it, each other. We want to be able to do all these big things together, and God opened up that door. God allowed that to happen. My baby was not a mistake at the age of 16. Like, we manifested things. We got married. Like, all my kids got the same last name over here, 10 to be exact. I ain't one that's, and I'm not judging nobody else, but to say I have 10 kids and I have been through some things with the same man, but I'm still here. And he know what he has. But sometimes it takes somebody like me to even stir his will, because he ain't always been who he is today, and he's still learning. Sometimes we don't understand life, and when we get older, things just change. We change. Things don't remain the same unless you wanted to. Unless you wanted to. And soft equals safe. But what did I say in my notes? I think I said enough. People may cover things up publicly, but nothing is hidden from God. In chapter 10, the focus is on loyal leadership and battle. You turn my fan off? You cold? David, I think I said enough of the notes. The quiet line that changes everything at the very end, that David had done displeased the Lord. Yep. Don't you displease the Lord by doing something you ain't got no business doing just because they doing you wrong. Go to God about it. Pray, journal, write, meditate. When I was going through that darkness space, I say darkness because God had me in isolation by myself. I couldn't get on the phone. I couldn't talk about it. I had to go through that moment with me, God, and eventually my husband. How did I get over that fast? I did not talk on the phone. Like, girl, guess what happened? Let me tell you about what, like, no. That moment was not me being embarrassed, because I spoke on it publicly. And when I did speak on it publicly, it was not to say I was embarrassing my husband, but that was breaking something right in that moment, because the devil thought he had a stronghold over me, thinking that, oh, I'm going to sweep this under the rug. I'm going to move on with the next message, acting like my life is just so perfect. No, let's talk about it. It was done privately, but I need to come out publicly about it. And the women got to sending me a message. Hey, this is this, and that's what it was. I'm sorry. You look like a woman of God. Oh, I am so sorry. I didn't know. Oh yeah, you know now that the woman that I am, you know not to play with it, because you don't know how God moving on my behalf. These women was whoever it was. I say women, but it was one that reached out to me. She was stalking me. I even had her as a friend, not even knowing. And once I put 2 and 2 together, baby, I'm like, the whole time she just sitting back watching me, listening, liking my videos. But she knew the God was in me. She had to say, you know what, let me wrap this up real quick. This getting too hot and heavy. Yeah. But I wanted to read some messages, and I'm going to tell y'all how I had to find myself in those moments. Let me read. And yes, I will pray for you. I'm praying for you. Congratulations on you about to be getting married. I don't know why something told me to start reading these comments, y'all. I don't want to feel like I'm ignoring them. Okay. God bless you too. I think I'm caught up. Okay. I don't know why I read them. Let me put some more on. Okay, so how I healed so fast within 4 months. Before that happened, I was also in a spot of isolation. You're just going with the flow of God. But I also feel like, even though I'm a mother of 10 and I had my oldest at the age of 16, I lost myself, not knowing that I lost myself, because I was a mother at such a young age. So India put everybody else before her. When I say at 16, my baby ain't want for nothing. I was in school. I graduated high school with honors. My mama said that she didn't fuss at me. The only thing she said was I was going to be a Mima and you're going to finish school. Before my mom passed, she passed at a funeral, singing in a choir at a funeral from stress and things that her husband put her through. So at this point of life, I don't want to repeat the same cycles as my mom. I don't want to be stressed and I don't want to be worried. I want to live life to the fullest, to the abundance, happy, growing, flowing with my kids, my family, my husband too, even with the wrong things that has happened. I don't want to repeat the cycle, sweep things under the rug. We're going to talk about it and, let God be God, and we're going to keep it moving. So I say all this to say, one day I looked myself in the mirror. I'm like, who is India? So I started running, walking, just leaving out the house. And I knew my husband had the kids. They was good. So I had to go on that journey with me and God. That's when I started walking and walk with God before I even accepted the call. I had been ordained 2 years before I actually answered the calling of being a pastor. So working out, getting me right, getting back healthy, looking like me, because after you have a baby, sometimes that way to catch up with you, and I just was comfortable. I had got too comfortable, not too heavy, but I was just comfortable. But I was like, let me start putting me first. I love everybody, but let me start not forgetting about me. Let me start pouring into me. I'm always pouring into everybody else, but let me start pouring into me. So that's how I got closer with God, my journey. I started putting God first before everything and anything. So around last year, After all what I just said, God built us back up, got us right, cleansed us, and all of that. We was in the wilderness around that time, 2 years ago. But last year, I'm like, God, you just broke us down like last year to like, how many times you gonna keep breaking us back down? Like, I'm ready to build. I know I'm solid. I know it's a solid foundation, God, with the help of you, but why? I just feel like we just gotta keep getting broken down. Like, and I gotta keep taking these blows one by one, two by two. Like, come on now, God. And as I see money right here, this word right here says money, right? God said, I'm breaking y'all back down because it's a lot of things that even with y'all being married all these years, y'all still wasn't doing right. Y'all still was not doing right financially wise. So when it came down to finances, I'm a tax preparer on the side. So each time I talk to my clients, they was like, it don't matter what account it's going to because it's going to the same pot, meaning the same bank account. Now he was like, me and my husband been together all these years. I don't know if we'll ever be like that though, because we take care of the bills, we take care of the kids, but our money is our money and that's just what it is. But the way I thought like that and speak like that is because that's what I seen my mama and them do. I didn't know how they handle finances. I've never heard that to see that, to understand it. So again, it goes back to when people do you wrong, sometimes they don't know better to do better. And it's a lot of things that they might have picked up on their family or friend, whoever taught them. Or they just seen things not knowing if they was even doing it right or wrong. Sometimes people do the best that they can or the best that they know how. So that's what we were over here doing. Long as the bills and the kids was good, that's all that mattered to us. Our money was our money, and we just did it the way we did it, separately. So God was like, y'all been married all this time, and y'all ain't never trusted each other to just do it jointly, right? We done had conversations like this with other people, but I just always feel like, baby, who? Me? No. I know how to manage. I know how to keep. I'm not trying to lose or be feeling like what's going on. I have to look around and say, okay, this is where my money went. This makes sense. Oh, if I ever feel like things get low, I know that as long as the house is full and good and things are stocked up, and bills is paid, that's all that matter. Everything else gonna flow the way it needs to. But God was like, I'm breaking y'all back down because financially, this is the year it's gonna hit differently. So February last year, I got permission to walk away fully from my work from home position. I had good work from home jobs here in Texas. But God was like, I was like, you okay, you really working for me now. So this is me doing what I do, y'all with y'all. So them months in, my husband was just working. But when I caught him slipping, I said, oh, baby, you're not going back to work in that truck. No, you're not. You're going to either have her come get you. And I was being funny. I told you how sometimes us women can say things that we really don't mean. And I, just to be trying to be sarcastic. That was me. I was like, but you're not going back to work in that truck. You can hang it up. You doing stuff you ain't got no business doing on the job? No, you can hang it up. Not that one. Nope. So, make the story short, he was out of work for 4 months. In them 2 months of those 4 months, I had just had baby 10. With me catching my husband slipping, I was like, dang, he's still fixing me food. He's still going to every appointment with me. He's still doing all these things. And why he have not turned cold on me from doing me wrong? Why he's still showing up? Why he's still doing all these things that he should be doing? But if I'm turning like I'm cold and telling him, oh, baby, next time I'm getting my lick back. Like, I've never talked like this, but this is me talking to him this way. Let him know, like, baby, I ain't playing no games. It better not be no next time. But this is just what it is. And I just, we have to learn each other. We have to become friends all over again. We have to relearn each other at that point. So those 4 months, I went to God. When it happened, I said, God, it's time for him to take the lead, but I need you to lead me on this situation. I surrender. I give my husband to you, my family, my kids. I can't prevent things from happening. Even if you show me things in my dream, even if I'm praying, like, I can't stop him from doing things he don't want to do. I can't teach him how to be the man that I want him to be or what he needs to be for his family. So I need you to teach him. He might not have nobody to teach him, God, but I need you to teach him. That's all I said to God. And in that moment of 4 months, I still had funds flowing. He said, you're going to teach him how to manage by showing your husband that you are good with finances. But y'all ain't been doing it right all this time. So it's going to be you drawing that line to say, even when you feel like you ain't got it, he might not have it to do, you're going to be able to stretch it out as long as y'all need to until another door opens. That 10th child, I had been going to high-risk doctor's appointment week by week. So see the doctor, and then the next week I'm going to the high-risk doctor. Why? Because that's the 10th baby, right? I'm a black woman, right? And that 9th one, I was hemorrhaging. Prior to that, I done had others that hemorrhaged. But my doctors used to always say, oh, you just bled a little bit, but nothing major. I stopped it. So I never took that serious or knew or understood that that is serious. The 9th baby, my baby was fine, but they had to work on me. I was turning pale. The doctor that wasn't supposed to deliver my baby that I got rid of had to deliver my baby. And that's a whole nother story for a whole nother day. Remind me, I'll tell you about it. That was a faith boo. You want to talk about it, remind me. So I say all this to say, God say, I'm going to heal your body like the lady with the issue of blood. I went to him. I used to tell him, God, heal my body like the lady that had the issue with the blood. And he said, I'm going to heal your body, but you got to give your husband grace. You got to give your husband grace. The minute I went in the hospital, I didn't move the way I normally, but I'm kissing my babies and trying to think positive, like I'm coming back home to y'all, but I just want to give all y'all a hug and a kiss. But I'm going to come back home to y'all. I got tears coming. When I went in the hospital, my husband prayed for me, and he's not he cut throat. He still do what he do. I'm not going to take that away from him. I'm praying. He might be in there listening to his music. I still listen to my gangster music too. Don't get it twisted. But he might want to drink his little drink one time or two. He's still cussing for us sometimes. I'm just being transparent. But he prayed. And I'm saying it because he prayed for me. He held my hand. He was nervous. He didn't really have too much to say. But he prayed. My doctor's middle name was Faith. I knew that. I did research on her. She was a black African lady. And she held my baby longer because she had an emergency C-section. She's like, I'm coming right after. So each time I dilate my body, I know when my body dilates. So if I go in the hospital and they tell me I'm 4, I know when I'm 5. I know when I'm 6. I know when I'm 7. I know when I'm 8. I know when I'm 9. And I'm knowing when y'all need to get on in here because I'm ready to push. And each time I knew what it was hitting for. I'm at 7. Okay. I'm at 8 now. You need to come on. So, but I didn't rush my baby. I let him stay in as long as he needed to. I went farther than 38 weeks, about 39, almost at 40. Because God was saying, don't rush the process. Do not rush the process. As you nest, you try to prepare, you try to clean up the mess, you try to do all these things. Do not rush the process. In the midst of me letting my baby cook longer, everything worked the way it needed to. My husband prayed. When the doctor finally came in the doctor's in there to allow me to push just like that, she looked. She waited. She said, you didn't bleed. What happened? Not in a bad way, but I did not bleed. I said, I had faith. And she said, you know my middle name is Faith? I said, yeah, I know. I said, I had faith that God was going to heal my body like the lady that had the issue of blood. And in that moment, God said, you have to give your husband grace for the things that he has did to you or behind you. But in the midst of that moment, too, he said, you're going to have to take it easy. Your body is hitting different this time. When I have a baby, I come home picking up the broom, cleaning, moving. He said, no, be careful. The moments you might not feel like you need to do this or you need to move a certain way, your husband is going to be there to help you. Y'all going to have to work on this together. So the finances side, let's get to that. I had my baby in April. I caught him slipping in February. After April, I got a job opening to working at another work from home job. So 2 weeks later, after having a baby, I'm in here in training. My heart wasn't in it. I'm like, God, this ain't it. This lady got big back energy. She all is supposed to be in here training, but I hold up my drink and she asking, what you over there drinking? What y'all over there eating? Like, they'll just get off topic. I'm like, this ain't professional. I'm not used to this. Like, I be in there cooking and cleaning while they still talking about food. And I was like, God, this ain't it. My heart not in this one right here. This don't seem right. And he's like, I did a message, release and let it go. Let it go. And I did the message, but God was like, I was talking to you too. I was like, let it go. You talking about this job, God? You know my husband not working right now. Bill's still coming up. He say, let it go. I say, you got to show me 3 signs, God. I want to be on this green couch talking to my people, building up a community, helping people. I want to do all these things, God. But you going to have to show me. He's like, okay. My TikTok family had told me to go outside and catch some fresh air before clocking back in. And I was like, okay, let me go get some fresh air in the same office that I'm in. I had my lid set up like this. My lid monitors and stuff was right in the front of my window. But the minute I walked outside, my kids looked up and pulled the blind and knocked my monitor over. I was not outside, not even less than 5 minutes. And hey, mama, something happened to your work screen. I said, okay, God, bet. That's what you I ain't gotta even ask no questions. I asked who did it. I wasn't even mad. The next day I was supposed to be taking phone calls. I told them people, I'm sending back y'all equipment. God was like, it's gonna be time. Your husband is ready. Your husband is ready to finally lead. And the reason why he couldn't just lead, because I was always leading. Because it's 11:11, y'all. Well, 1:11 my time. Because I was always leading, I didn't allow him to lead. I didn't allow him to be the man that maybe he could be. Because I was always trying to prevent things from happening. Because again, I'm the one that can see through things. I can have dreams. I can have visions. I can pick up on things. I'm trying to protect the house and the family and make sure we good. We ain't falling. We ain't slipping when it come down to bills and just life itself. He's like, you ain't gonna allow him to do nothing, even if he mess up. So he's like, he gonna be fully ready. So when I went in there, I say, God gave me the confirmation to let my job go. I say, this heavy. I'm kind of like, is it for real? Like, are you really ready? Or like, is you gonna do right? Or are you gonna like, he's like, I'm ready. I'm really ready. I'm not gonna fail you. I'm like, I ain't never just depended on you like this fully, financially, all of it. We used to drive up and down the road, not too far from the house, and we manifested a job looking for the building, and we could not find it nowhere in our sight. When my husband started doing applications, The same type of job we was looking for was hitting on the same street that we had been going looking for warehouse jobs, Amazon to be exact, delivering packages. That job, he showed every location, monitored to where he couldn't move wrong if he wanted to. He let me know every stop. Screenshotted every morning. By the time he got mid-shift, we used to pump him up. You could do it, because you out there hiding and he's slinging them packages and that's a job. That was hard because we done did the little Instacart, catching people groceries, doing things together financially. I'm like, you used to do this? All these hundreds of stops, baby, I salute you. But in those moments of me letting go of my job and God opened up the door and picked it right back up for him. And each time he got paid, he sent the money straight to me. Bills straight, things was lining up, going the way it needed to because we were in alignment with God financially. I opened up an account for him eventually in my name, showing him like, okay, I'm about to add you to my bank. And then he did the same thing for me. So we move differently instead of against each other. I feel like we in secret competition, or we hiding certain things, or we just not sharing, and we not doing the way that God wanted us to do the whole time because we married. We've been together since the 9th grade, but there was just something that we did not do right financially wise. That was my word. Up until this moment, the Bible repeatedly says that God was with David and gave him victory. But this moment shows that being chosen by God doesn't mean you can move however you want. You can have money, you can have influence, you can have followers, power. But if someone starts thinking nobody sees what I'm doing, then they will fail. They will fall. But God still sees it all. Even with me being loyal, even with me being strong, God still seen it all. And even though I was hurt, he healed me faster than other women that didn't always, or also has been put through the same situations or dealt with the same situations. A lot of times, a lot of women like, how you put up with that? How you get through that? How you healed so fast? Because I done been through something similar and I was hurt. I was bitter. I was down. I was depressed. I was just, doing whatever I wanted to do the same way David did. But I didn't let that get in my head, even though I could have let it get in my head. I had to give it to God. I had to trust and know that, like, okay, I'm always doing an assignment for everybody else, but God was like, your household is this next assignment of yours. This next assignment is your household. And guess what? Months down the line, we had a repossession for the Tahoe that was in my name. That's why I said when he couldn't work no more, baby, I had told him he can't go to work in that truck. No. But we married. But I was my truck, this and that. And not always. But when you move wrong and I'm still paying money on stuff and paying more, and like it wasn't making sense. The math was not mathing. You going to a job and doing stuff you ain't got no business doing. And I'm having to pay for extra things that's not in my way because I'm working from home. I don't have to leave. But I wasn't just selfish with saying that was my truck. I said that for a meaning because windshield rocks and stuff hitting when you on the interstate, I'm having to replace that. That was stuff that, not saying it in a way because I'm changed. Our money is the same, but you get what I'm saying. At the time, we were doing things differently, and I was having to pull more weight than he was. But we had a repossession in September after trying to pay tolls and stuff because he was still doing stuff he ain't had no business doing, and the truck was in my name. Going through tolls, knowing I'm like, AJ, don't do that. I'm saying my husband's name, sorry. But, I mean, it is what it is. But, and he still was doing it, and that stuff added up, and they came and served me at the door. And he covered it. He took care of it, but Also was the sacrifice for our truck note. Truck note was $643 for a 2021 Tahoe. Baby, I had to put down so much money on it. I felt like I was proud because that was a blessing, but I manifested that truck. That was on my vision board. That was on my vision board, and God blessed me. I said, God, I'm going to have this truck one day. I had rented it out to go to my brother's graduation in Louisiana. And I was like, oh, this is going to be my next vehicle. It's going to be delivered to my front door. Ask me how I got that truck. It was delivered to my front door from a whole nother part of Texas. I felt like I was doing things the way I needed to do, because at the time me and my husband was not moving the way we needed to together. So I had to stick and move. I had to pull extra weight. I had to show him like, baby, I could do it with you or without you, because sometimes we just have to do what we have to do. I don't want to move like this, but I will show you like it's in me. And I ain't got to go out there to beg and get it from nobody else. I do it naturally, the way I know how to do it, business-wise. But the truck had to go. It had to go. Not just bad memories, but because it was done just with me. We didn't do that together. He put down a little, but I put down too much. Too much. Thousands on top of thousands. I went to sleep reading when I started reading. I showed y'all last night that I had started reading certain chapters, and God had me in Matthew at that time. We knew that we sacrificed the truck note to pay the tolls, because that was $1,000-something in August. And it had to be paid, or I was going to have to go before the judge. And I was like, I didn't do these tolls. You know, he's like, I'm going to cover it. I'm going to do it. But we done been behind on the truck before, but they never came to just touch it. And we moved to a whole nother town, moved from my old address. So I just felt like I was untouchable for the moment of the truck. Like, we good. They ain't came and got it 2 months behind, but it was 3 months behind. And it was 2 months behind. It was $1,000-something that needed to be paid, $1,200 and something. And I was like, dang, you know, it's gonna get paid. You know, we just behind right now. We was in a hole. I went to sleep reading Matthews, where God was on a boat and they woke him up from the storm, and he woke up out his sleep and said, "Where's y'all faith? You have such little faith," right? That same night, right, I went to sleep. I had the Bible app on me in my phone, and I went to sleep reading that verse, reading that chapter. Our oldest is 17. He'll be 18 this year. His room is upstairs on the opposite end. He came knocking in the room, knocking on our door, waking up his daddy, and he say, "Is our truck supposed to be repossessed?" My husband woke me up out my sleep. "India, baby, get up. They got the truck." I had just went to sleep reading what I said, Matthews, in the book of God waking up in the midst of a storm. They gave me peace. I woke up, put something on. The man already had the truck on the back of it. I said, "Can we get our stuff?" The man had faith for us and say, "Y'all be able to get it when y'all go pick it up." I said, "Just let me get a few things out." I already knew what it was hitting for. I knew at this point it had problems, big maintenance stuff that was about to be going out. So in this point, it's like, I know that if we get it back, we're going to have to catch up on a note. And it's something really wrong that after any moment, it's going to stop cranking up, because it was something with, I don't even remember what the dashboard said. Because we couldn't even keep up the maintenance, because, again, God gave me permission to walk away from my job to allow my husband to lead. And even when I feel like, dang, he couldn't even manage this, I didn't beat him down. I gave him grace. But the truck was a sacrifice along with getting us the way we needed to. So we called an Uber to get the stuff. And my husband was like, dang, we got to go back through this again. I'm going to have to go to work catching an Uber. I was like, well, it ain't like we ain't did it before, because when we had a van, he totaled the van. And we was down 9 months without a vehicle catching Ubers. When I tell you at that point, around that time, of the wilderness. I used to cry catching the Uber. Because what you mean I got to catch an Uber? I don't know how to catch an Uber. I never had to do such thing. And I'm not saying it in a way of boastful or being prideful. I just always had a vehicle. I always had a vehicle. I learned how to drive before I had a baby. In Louisiana, baby, you hit them roads. You go. You do what you need to do. I was 16 as a mother. So just imagine I was 14. I had a job at IHOP. I was working and I was driving. I had my mom and them bought me a car before I had license. So now I have to catch rides and trust people that's driving not stable enough and they driving too fast and I'm in the back seat pumping the brakes and holding on, and them 9 months was heavy. But God was like, I'm birthing y'all. Just like a woman gives birth, after 9 months, he say, I'm birthing y'all. And that's how I got the truck after them 9 months. I was still going through some things, but I had faith and God made a way. But just last year, the truck had to go. It was a sacrifice of knowing that God said, trust me. And in that month, after that, God blessed us with a whole nother vehicle. Brand new keys, brand new vehicle, not that many miles. And guess what? I ain't had to touch a pen to sign a paper. I ain't have to put nothing down on it. My husband did that. My husband signed that. My husband said, what car you want? This one for my wife. Even though it ain't the truck replacement, but at least I'm able to get us back and forth. All the kids can't load up right now. But that's another car that was on my vision board, same style and all. Black, all that. And in moments I just didn't understand. I didn't grieve over the vehicle the way I might have felt like I wanted to. I had touchy moments because he'll pass up an escalator and be like, that mug clean. Ooh, that's going to be my next. And I just look at him on the side like, did you appreciate that Tahoe like that? Because I felt like that Tahoe was clean too, baby. 2021 push start, baby. I love that thing. All the kids was loaded up. We was able to go and move the way we wanted to. But then I was like, I didn't see the vision. God has given him a vision for elevation. And although that was a Tahoe that's gone, the next one is going to be an Escalade. The next one is going to be something even bigger than that for everybody. It's not about just the material things. It's also about knowing that when you have losses, that it be valuable lessons. And even though that we can be stressed, and I know that I'm not going to repeat that same cycle that put my mama in the grave. Stress is a silence killer. I'm not about to stress over something that I can't bring back or I can't just get the way I want, but I know that God will make a way. I'm not going to do nothing crazy and step out of line or do things that I just know that's not within my heart just because I'm having a bad day or having a bad moment of life or life being the way it is. How they say life is lifening right now. You never know who's at the edge or might feel like they're losing or they lost just because God loves you too. Thank you. Hey, just because life just don't seem like it's perfect or things going right, don't step out of an alignment when you know you on the right track. That's what the devil be wanting us to do, slip and fall. I was like really out there at night when I seen the truck marks. When they dragged that truck and put it on the back, it left tire marks in the driveway. Our house is brand new. So the driveway, that just left a mark in my heart, my spirit. And I scrubbed it. I tried to scrub it like, I don't want to see these marks. I don't want to see this reminder. But just not knowing that when my husband did what he did in February, it held finances from him in February. His finances was held in February. But it took all the way up until October for those finances to be released. That same year. That same year, it took us to break down, to build, to get back in alignment with God, do things differently financially. He had then got the job and was leading. and doing what he needed to do. And God opened up and he released them funds. And that's how we was able to move and get another vehicle and do what we needed to do. I didn't do anything I ain't had no business doing. I did what I was still needing to do. And now that shows my husband, like, you know, I do have a good wife. I hope and pray he sees that, he understands that as well as he feel in his spirit. Let me find it for you. That I'm a real one. Showing loyalty was the topic for tonight. Showing loyalty. God sent me straight to Matthews. I want to say it's chapter. Let me find it. Give me 1 second. Six. Give me 1 second, I'm looking. Okay, let me highlight this because when I was reading, I told you I was reading from my phone. But Matthew chapter 8, verse 26. Jesus responded, "Why are you afraid? You have so little faith." When Jesus calms the storm, that's the topic of that chapter. But when I was reading it at the time, I didn't even highlight that. And normally I highlight certain stuff for a reason, but I was reading it on my phone, so that's why it was harder for me to find it. Chapter 8 in Matthew's, it really starts on verse 23. Jesus said, then Jesus got into the boat and started across the lake with his disciples. Suddenly, a fierce storm struck the lake with waves breaking into the boat, but Jesus was sleeping. The disciples went and woke him up, shouting, "Lord, save us. We're going to drown." Jesus responded, "Why are you afraid? You have so little faith." Then he got up and he rebuked the wind and waves, and suddenly there was a great calm. The disciples were amazed. "Who is this man?" they asked. Even the winds and the waves obeyed him. Yep. That's what I had read that night. It all collides in a good way to help shift our spirits in a positive, even when you feel like you're going through something. You're more than welcome. I think that's a wrap. I ended it speaking light. I let the Holy Spirit flow. I felt like it was so hard to release this message today because I was so distracted. I just like Sundays, it's like family day, but I know that with me going live, it just instead of just recording, I have to give everybody attention, and then we normally do family stuff. So that being said, we have to run to Walmart and get the house situated. And I'm like, Lord, when am I gonna ever release the message? But it was for who needed to hear it now. And then I released the live tomorrow because I'm supposed to learn how to stop it after a certain amount of minutes and then do a part 2. But I just been letting it just go. So I had to break it down and share it, just like I ain't even shared the one from yesterday because it's long. It's like 2 hours. But I hope and pray that bless y'all. Stay loyal. Even when certain things don't feel right, like, you remain who you are. Remain with a good, pure heart. Even when sometimes things can drive you insane. A lot of times in life, when certain things occur in our life, personally, spiritually, one sometimes be a spiritual warfare. We have to recognize it. Pay attention to the smallest details. The devil tried to get me today, or yesterday to be exact. And I just kept quiet for a moment because I seen like this is spiritual attack. And I ain't about to fall for it, but I almost fell for it. Me and my husband, like, yeah, it's not always pretty, and it ain't gonna always be easy. But keep trying and believing and trusting and having faith. And I say this to say that sometimes in life we could go through things and we feel like we could talk to any and everybody about it, but most times in life we just need to talk to God about it, because sometimes people will encourage you to do the things that's not in your heart to do, even when you're hurt. Or sometimes people be ready for you to throw in a towel, and that ain't what God is pretty much wanting you to do right in that moment. I'm not saying to stay, but I'm not saying to just move and you ain't going to God about what you need to do. Because the same way David used to go to God and ask God, like, God, what you need me to do for this one? You going to protect me? You going to bring me my enemies? You going to allow me to win? David won each time. But the minute he stepped out of alignment with God and he did what he did, and he still set that man up, chapter 12 about to hit different for David. And sometimes in life, it hits different in our life. Enemies, lovers, friends, family. But you got to just still pay attention to the smallest details. And in this moment, chapter 10 and 11, I had to pay attention to the smallest details because David had a hitter. He had many that was loyal to him. But he got big-headed. He felt like he was like, I'm king now. Like, what made you feel like you could move like that just because you king? And a lot of times we might question the same ones. Like, what made you move like that? I'm cute in the face. I got a slim waist. I'm this. I'm loyal. I show up. I'm helping. I'm the one to give you even when I don't want to. I'm, showing up for you. I love you. But at the same time, sometimes those same ones will do you wrong. And it's because sometimes hurt people. Sometimes people don't know how to love. And sometimes they feel like if I did it once, I could do it again and I can get away with it. Like, no, that's why I start saying, you know what? You move like that again, baby, I'm getting my leg back. And I don't know what could have happened the next time, but I pray there's not a next time. I'ma just say it like that. But if I have to move like that, I don't want to have to deal with you like that. Because I ain't about to be sneaky and doing things. I'm going to do it in the open if that's what I want to do. That's not what my heart is telling me to do. That ain't what God wanted me to do. God wanted me to give him grace, and I'm like, why? You don't see what he trying to play in my face. He trying to play on my top. But I ain't even think that I get this deep tonight, because sometimes people rekindle certain situations and it might not be a full trigger, but sometimes people don't heal. But I pray to God, and I pray that God continues to heal us all that has been through hardships and hard times in life, to where it just shift us to make us feel like we need to stay stuck, or are we boo-boo the fool? Like, no, you're not. They just don't know what they have until they understand what they have. And sometimes it takes something to happen to understand and see, like, yeah, in my dark situations, they always bring me the light. Yep. Sometimes we don't know until we know. And that was the financial situation, and allowing him to take lead, allow him to be a man, and don't take that from him, even when it seems like some things have been taken from me to hurt me. We just gotta show up differently. Sometimes it's like, I ask God, like, sometimes I don't like to want to be the bigger person all the time, God. Why? I always have to be the biggest person in this situation. Not just my husband, family, friend, anybody. pray that you guard it. You guard it at all costs. You guard it no matter what weapons formed against you, they shall not prosper. You better speak back to that devil and tell the devil he can't have you. He can't have your heart. You won't be stuck. God heal you, deliver you, be before you, protect you, guide you, love you, fulfill you, all these things before anything come to you. Sometimes too, you just gotta be, not sometimes, all the time, pray over your house. Anoint your house, anoint your doors. I told you I used to have to throw that oil when mine's asleep. He didn't want to see that oil coming, but now he know that, baby. And that was another thing I left out. We was missing that too. He's not too deep with the spiritual side now, but I wasn't deep. I wasn't the way I used to be, but I've changed. And when he started working, I used to say this was something that me and you never had. We never got to pray. We never did the spiritual things together, like praying and doing things that we should be doing. So each time he was working, we had to pray. Sometimes he prayed. Most times I prayed. Sometimes even the little babies prayed, the kids. Let's get this all. Come on. Not only am I protecting you for each door you go to with packages, but we need that. Come on. Let's pray. So that was something we was missing. We was missing some things, but God filled that gap. But we had to go through some things to even see, like, dang, that's what it was. That's what we've been missing all this time. Oh, it's not that bad. But you won't know until you try. You won't know until you try. You won't know until you try. But keep allowing God to prepare your heart. God prepares us before he can just elevate us to the next level. Before anything, he prepares us. Sometimes he has us in isolation. But it's for a reason. And sometimes you ain't gonna understand it to see it until you have to go through it to see. Like, when you make it on top, you could go back and look like, dang. If I was able to do it again, would you do things differently? Everything will remain the same. Because this is what changed me. This is what molded me. This is what shaped me to being the person that I am today. And anything that comes my way, it can't attack me. It can't harm me. Because God has strengthened me. God has gave me power. God has gave me authority. I have to rebuke some things. I have to change some things. I have to also hold myself accountable for some of the actions, some of the things that I maybe even said. I'm not perfect. I know I could have pushed or said something that made them go over the edge just a little bit, because I know me. Sometimes our tongues can be a weapon. It's very powerful. That's why you got to be mindful for the things that you say, as well as the things that you do. But I have to also look at myself and hold myself accountable. And sometimes I even say, I'm sorry. Can you forgive me? I'm not always wrong, right? Sometimes I'm wrong. And we butt each other back up again. And, we keep it moving. But sometimes I used to want to go to sleep with a chip on my chest. Baby, don't touch me. Don't look at me. Don't breathe on me. Like, I'm mad. I'm booted up. And then he'll be like, I've been past it. I've been over that. But me, I still be wanting to be tough and hard. But I have to learn how to soften up some. Soften up some. And it was always instilled within me. I seen the strongest women in my family. So, baby, if I wanted to build a house, I know how to build a house. If I need to change a tire, I know how to change a tire. If I need to cut the grass, anything in the yard, I don't mind getting my hands dirty. I don't mind doing things that I need to do without depending on others. So just imagine on the relationship side, I always feel like I got it. I do it. I figure it out. But parenting side, it's always been balanced with all the kids. I never had to move differently or feel like I was in it by myself when it came down to the kids. But anything else, finances and household things and just keeping up things, yeah. But now I mention stuff to him and I point things out to him and he helped me. Or maybe, I just, it's different to where I don't feel like I have to do it by myself. 1:42. I'm not sleepy at all, but I know that he's been waiting on me to get the baby so he could take a shower and get in the bed. And I'm like, I could have got the baby. He's like, no, go finish doing what you needed to do. And knowing doggone well I wanted to come here free-handed. So I thank God that I was able to do it without having to whisper over the baby head or be trying to flip pages and read while holding the baby. I was allowed to finish every page of my reading. I was able to read, meditate on Matthew chapter 8, verse 26, I think I said. Let me see. Meditate on that. I might have to wait for this video to download this live, but y'all have any other questions or anything before I release? I'm gonna end it at my time 150. It's 1:43. Any other questions or anything? Prayer. I pray and say, God, as you walk us into this week, moving forward, you go before us, God. I ask that you heal our hearts, God. I ask that you open our eyes to see even more. I ask that you continue to give us the strength and an ability, as well as the capacity to do all things through Christ who strengthens you, God. I ask that you give us the power and authority and the dominion over our lives to say that even when there is a storm, that we can speak peace over that storm right now in the mighty name of Jesus. I ask that you cover anybody that's going out, protect them on the dangerous highways and byways, and the children and their families and anyone that's just under their roofs right now, God. Heal those, deliver those, protect those, and you carry it away, God. I pray that before the end of this month that someone is able to share a good testimony, God, that they did not have doubt, but they had faith in you. In Jesus' mighty name we pray. Amen. Amen. It's 1:44. We got 6 more minutes. As y'all can see, most likely my lives will be late. Not too late. I try not to be, but if y'all up, roll over in a bed or still moving around the house, it'll be when my house is quiet. They don't be loud, but to where it's no distractions and I don't have to feel like I'm having to be a mother too at the moment of me being live. They in here now. And guess what? They sleep. I got one right here. And one I'm thinking the whole time she on her computer, but she actually sleep. But I don't mind that. But throughout the day I be feeling like I don't be wanting to take y'all with me in the kitchen, cooking, cleaning, unless it's just a moment of me just vibing and chilling. But if I'm releasing a message, I want to be able to hear from the Holy Spirit. I want to be able to comprehend what I'm telling y'all, and it don't be no distractions. I had distractions, so it took me longer to release, and I needed to go to Walmart. And the enemy just felt like I still wasn't going to get on after a spiritual warfare attack. I nipped it in the bud though. But yes, I know my husband probably still up watching TV in the room, and we late nights and early mornings type of people. One thing about it, if we have to be up late, sacrifice that sleep. I used to work overnight too from home, so this don't faze me. And then I be right in the room getting a baby. He'll be back up wanting bottles and stuff, but I'm able to get right back up for homeschooling the next morning and do what I need to do. And that's because God gives me that strength. I pray that he gives y'all the same. Yep, 3 nights straight. I hope and pray. I don't even know your story, but I feel like I do. I feel like I know a piece of it, enough to where that's why I pause and share transparency, because sometimes people need to see the light at the end of the tunnel, because you could be in a dark situation and just don't know how it's gonna work out, how God gonna make it happen for you. But when I told God to use me, this is me allowing him to use me. And I don't mind sharing transparency because it's able to help somebody else see the positive. I'm not saying it's gonna be the same, but this is just the way things happen on my behalf, with God helping me get through some things. Everybody different, but hope and pray that it was a blessing for those that was listening. I got 3 more minutes. I try to stick with a lit time until I'm finished, I guess. I don't really be knowing. But I was supposed to set a timer for at least 40 minutes and then jump back on and do like a part 2. But I just had to wait for it alive to finish downloading. And then try to break it up into 2s before I can even release it. The kickback is I'm not recording from Facebook, Instagram right now, or YouTube. It's just y'all. Just y'all. And everybody else can get it how they get it once I release it. I started off propping up all these phones and iPads and devices, and God was like, no, you build up the foundation with your loyal ones. That was some nice topics. Stay loyal. Stay loyal to the TikTok family. Yes, ma'am. I love y'all. Because y'all seen me before anybody else did. I got one on here that calls me pastor. She was the first one that ever called me pastor when I'm still saying my name is India Sade. I know who I am, but I don't just stay struck off of titles. I don't want nobody to run away. Oh, she a pastor. I'm unique with it. Yes, I got piercings. I got tats, baby. I'm street smart. I'm book smart. I listen to my gospel. I listen to my rap. Boosie, Young Boy, all of that. Louisiana raised, but yeah, we in Texas, so baby. I mean, it is what it is. God still allows me to be me and still do what I need to do for him. I don't have to dress up, beat by the face, feel like I have to be something that I'm not. No. So yeah, I have some on YouTube. How can I take you serious? You got piercings though. In the Bible it says that the women that had the piercings, that was like a I would say like a blessing, like they were given that for like good cause and not bad. Like it wasn't nothing bad, but I'm unique. I say he made us who we are. We all unique in our own ways. Until he tell me I need to do something, then I'm just gonna be who I am. And I'm still, you meet me in person, I might be quiet for a minute. I ain't loud. I'm just going to be calm and quiet until I feel like your spirit, right? Oh, give me a hug. Come on. You know I'm a mother of many. Come on. Let's do what we need to do. How can I help you? What balance do you need? Do you need help with anything on a business level, personal level, spiritual level? Like, what you need? I've had something to say. And it's 1:50. I'm gonna say this and I'm gonna get off. I used to FaceTime a lot, talk to friends. I don't do none of that. But one thing about it, and 2 things for sure, I had one point out like, dang, when I talk to you, I'm always getting motivated and encouraged. Like, I see India in the kitchen cooking and cleaning or doing something, it makes them want to get up and do things. So I hope and pray that this made you do something in a way that's going to change you into the better. Even when it seems like things are out to get you and harm you, I pray no weapons formed against you shall prosper. You see, I got marked the other day out there making this stream. So yeah, you marked. You marked. Yeah. I've built websites and logos and things like that. You can send me a message and I'll be able to see what you need. But I didn't help businesses, other people's businesses, websites. I build websites in my sleep. Like, I got a whole MacBook right here in the corner and dead in my iPad. But even stuff on my phone, I love it. That's like a whole nother side, but it's not my passion, it's not my purpose, but it's a gift of mine. And that's why I just fall back from certain things, because even though it's a gift, it's not my purpose, it's not my passion. I love doing it, but I know that I have to do what God called me to do first. But just send me a message. It's 1:52. I'm getting off. I love y'all, and I'll see y'all back tomorrow sometime. I'm going to do my messages throughout the day, but it will be daily lives if I can get it, Lord. I promise I'm going to make that vow to you. The best of my ability. I don't have no time. Just be ready to rock and roll when it's time. Put your notification bells on. Good night. Love y'all.